I have been thinking how to start this presentation and where to start from. And maybe I would like to say to start from the community itself, uh, because I'm an individual artist and I collaborate closely with different organizations. Currently, I'm based in Denmark, and currently I am a resident artist at the municipality where I live here in the West Jutland. But as my practice through my projects and the directions of these community performances that I build, it starts by the community itself adopting me. So with every new project, I'm being adopted into a new community, into a new town, into a new city, and also a new country, because I have been working across several countries, despite that I'm based here. And that is by itself being adopted and getting to know the community that I will work with and for is an important starting point for myself. I leave try to leave my practice behind, and I just turn on my autopilot and go into a new adopted world for me and for the community. And I start from the place itself and from the stories of the place. And today I will share with you just a couple of pictures from my practice, which deals basically with different ways of making this work that I do. And there are lots of intersected lines. For example, this is a small scale production that I noticed when I was writing to you that most of the time it's about the place, it's about the history and the story and the memoir of the people and the place itself that I end up dealing with. And most of the time I'm working with and making some kind of a barter between some fantasy ideas and some real concrete stories that are coming from the community itself. So all those people that you see here, this is a combination. You don't know who is the professional artist and who is the community member, and that's the beauty of the work when I come to this kind of work, because, for example, this is the person who is a teacher in the school and a retired teacher, and he becomes a historian, and then he's now the narrator working along a circus artist. This is a driver from like a ship driver who's also now becoming a leader in the choreographic of all the boats that are going there. These are professional artists that are obviously making an intervention, folkloric dancers that are being put out of their context and joined in another context. And of course, the audience make a lot of the narrative that we build for. So for me, what is interesting as I developed my work in those last years is that I really go with an open page, and I turn on my autopilot with all the techniques that I've learned and have accumulated from every single experience to the other. But the most important thing was for me is to really give voice to the people, give joy, give them empowerment through the arts, give them a new thinking of their space and their place itself. For example, with this very small little installation here with this artist, we played the whole sound of the shipyard, because here in this area where we are, there is a shipyard. There used to be one of the biggest shipyards that long time ago it closed down, but it's one of the stories that I collected from the people. They said we used to hear in the town the shipyard noise all over in the town, but of course now I don't hear anything when I arrived to this town. And then we started to do those little sounds, and everybody around said like, that's the sound of the shipyard. And that was very, very minimalistic here, but just echoing that. And that made a huge impact on the audience, remembering the past in a new form, and so on. Mixing different genres in a chaotic, but yet giving new meanings to the space and to the memory of the people. That's Mellemhimmel of Fjord. I will go next to that was in Denmark, the project. This one, Sugar Town, I have done this project in Carlow, with Carlow Arts Festival in Ireland. And just so you can see the palette of it. And that was a project that has been done really big deal with the community. They have been mostly the community doing it, with some professional artists that are coming to the festival itself. And they wanted to do a community project, and I was like asking them and trying to find out which kind of stories they share together as a community. And then we understood that there was a sugar factory that has been shut down, and the whole town has been living with this memory, and they're not really getting through it for a long time. So we said, okay, why don't we do a requiem for the sugar factory, and together with the children and with the whole town, to really celebrate that story and just really get over it. And of course, it had a long process, because I had to be walking and meeting people and getting to know their stories, and taking the story and going to another meeting, and then taking a photo, and then going to a third meeting, and getting to know more about what is happening. So, for example, this picture here, it was quite interesting, because for me, one person gave me a picture from the archive, and I would like to show it to you, which was in black and white. And it was quite interesting for me. This picture, not this one, previous 7 days. Yeah, this one. And it was part of the memory of the Sugar Carlo historical sugar factory. And then I took this picture and this calendar, and then I went to my other meeting, and then a third meeting. And, I was just sharing and talking with the community. And one of them said, this boy, I know his uncle. He used to be also working in the sugar factory. And then he ditched school, this boy, and he came to see the opening of the sugar factory in the late 1800 something. And it was very interesting, because the story started to be shaped with them, by the people, by the memoir of the people, because this, for example, was not written in any book. So it was quite interesting for me to find those hidden stories. So this is him today in the performance. And these two gentlemen are factory owners, which I asked them to work with their factory people to make a scene. And then I said, I would like to have one of you to be the character that was in the picture that inaugurated. And they said, I can't do it alone. No, I don't want. I said, okay, maybe you two brothers can do it together. So it was quite interesting how this has been reformulated with the local community, the story. So many people, when they were watching, they could start to hear it and to see some images that all of them maybe have experienced or in different ways. So it was important that it made, if it came back, it resonated in their memory. And for me, it's very important. And that has been a very key turning point in the history of the festival, because they saw the community work, how much it can affect. And it has been very well received also by the politicians, by the festival organizers, which they would want to now invest more in community projects. And all of these are kids from the community, and there's a huge talent. It's just about how can we work with this talent? How can we give the talent the right atmosphere, time? Um, these are the factory people. We used to work in behind their factory. There was a yard. Uh, how can we give them the opportunity? I think it was very much important. And every time we have a festival or a project, it's the opportunity where we get the people to get together, give them a reason to be together, give them a reason to create, give them an excellent composer, scenography, give them lights. They can be then, they can be out there, or even without, even with simple narratives, but just really infuse imagination and dream, and of course it's always a dialogue, and that's the beauty of the things. And many times we don't know what we are going to do, how is it going to come at the end. And that's the beauty, because if we come in with closed narratives, then really it becomes like any other production. And the last is this performance that was the in 2017 was the official closing ceremony of Aarhus 2017 European Capital of Culture here. And this has been a huge challenge. And really, if it was not for the community, we would not have ever managed to do an official closing on the 9th of December on the West Coast, with all the very cold weather. And it's always a dialogue with the audience, who turns to become your actors and your performers. And of course, many times artwork is parachuted into communities, and it makes more sense when for them and for the art and for the viewers who come to see that the community is embracing art, getting to understand art in a new way and giving to it. So here, for example, I have been working with fishermen, because of course, obviously, I mean, I'm working on the West Coast, and they are there, so I cannot just get fantastic skaters and drones and somebody to operate and how say to take over their place. So it's mostly, I wanted them to be generating themselves to be the stars of that place. And it was very interesting to
I
work with
think
them.
that the time is over. I would just
Yeah.
like to let Lia into the conversation. Smooth entrance.
Okay, so we got again so many layers here that we could go on forever discussing this. To begin with, has there been an evolution in your technique, in your methodology? Or, I mean, you started with one festival in one location long time ago, I imagine, or short time ago. So how has your methodology evolved since you started? Have you added any way of how do you access these communities? Do you have techniques, particular techniques that you use? If you're talking to fishermen, how do you go? Do you go there and saying, I have this project in mind? Or do you go there and ask them, how do you feel about fishing here? How do you feel about your city? Is there anything you want to change? Or how do you approach them?
Yes, definitely. I'm another person now after all these experiences. Before, I used to go with much more fixed ideas, like in cinema, like with all I know what I want, and this is what I would like to build, and almost conducting every single part of it. But then I discovered that the word is richer if I actively listen to what is there. And then then I met other artists in other disciplines, and I started to learn more about the emptiness, like really start from the emptiness. Of course, I have a direction, I have a fantasy. So what I try to do is I try to engage in a discussion with clear vision of the output in terms of the fantasy and the dream of it. And I give them a lot of space to dream. So there must be something that is that catches their imagination, that catches that is something for them. For example, like how can we use boats in this performance? When can I rehearse with you? When can I come and see you and go on the boat? Of course, they would tell me, you know what, at 5 o'clock in the morning, because they want to challenge me. It's like they want to know, am I serious? Because this is when they go to work. And if I say, I was like, oh, yes, of course, I will come. Then he will say, okay, fine, come at 7, but I have to meet them in their own conditions. So it's that dialogue of the equalness, that they need to feel important as the artistic. They should not feel that the artistic is an alien for them. Oh, no, that's not for me. That's the way.
Say that you are getting kind of, it's like you're used as a tool to get their imagination going, to break the boundaries, the constraints, or maybe the mental constraint. We're saying earlier on, change or anything new is frightening.
Yeah.
So what I seem to grasp from what you're saying is that it's not so much the artistic intervention, but it's the way you approach this community with an aim to open up the imagination of them.
Yes, yes. And you know what? Now this question is very interesting, and I have to write this note down for myself. I found out that every time I want to do this kind of project, I cannot, like, the vision turns to become a narrative and a story. And it's like really a small one. Like for now, and then they always ask me, what is the vision of the performance? And the vision, I would say, it's a firefly that went out loose in Naturens Rie in Ringkøbingskjern Kommune and became friend with a child. And together they went into discovering new, unexpected places. I just tend to find a narrative like this, 5-6 lines, where I just put it for them, and then I see how they reflect to it. What do they see? What does it bring in their imagination? So I don't speak to them. I like to speak to their imagination, because if I speak to him, he's in fishing. He's in the other guy is making bolts. All those Irish workers and engineers, they make bolts and they make hydraulic arms. I mean, I need to speak something else.
That's an art for them.
And exactly.
If I see them, that's an art. I'm really, I'm inspired when I see them doing their own job.
Absolutely.
But on the other hand, we talk about art changing society. And I don't think art in itself changes society, pretty much like Liz was saying. But I think what artists can do is open up the imagination of people, and then trying as much as possible to give people the capability of accessing any form of art and culture, so that they will be enriched as human beings. End of story.
Absolutely. And then, how many of us have been on a stage or have been in a theatrical piece? How many and how many times in your life? Maybe once, maybe twice, or if your parents are enrolled you, or you are in part of a club, maybe 3 or 4 times. But this experience itself, it makes the person steps out into a new world, experience his life being in a new world. How do I collaborate within that? So the artistic process itself is very interesting to give chance to people to experience. And that's why I always say it's momentum. It's just making projects. It's just making performances with people. It's just, beyond the structures. This will itself create a structure. This will itself change mindsets. Because if we start from the top and start to make all the policies for it and everything, but maybe they are not interested. Maybe they say like, yeah, great, continue making art, and we're gonna continue making hydraulic arms, you know, like. But if we come together to share a new narrative, you know, a third space. It's this third space that
we often talk about the third space, and this is the space of the imagination. But then we have a society, and we have to think about that everybody has the right to that kind of experience then. So there is commitment also, in a sense. It becomes political as well.
Absolutely.